Yeah. Gonna call it to order. So you gotta tell them to.
Sure, I'll do that. This meeting has been given public notice in accordance with section 19.83 and 19.84 Wisconsin statutes in such form that will apprise the general public and news media of subject matter that is intended for consideration and action. Oh, yeah, so we do not, our chairman, Dean Walter is not going to be in attendance this evening, so we need to appoint a chairman pro tem.
I move we appoint trustee Baum as a president pro tem of the meeting tonight. This is Commissioner Shadid.
Commissioner Williams, I have to second that.
Motion is made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That'll bring us down to approval of the minutes. That'll bring us to approval of the minutes of October 12th, 2024.
Move approval of the minutes of October, August 12th.
August.
August 12th, yeah.
We have motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Shadid, second by Commissioner Tarantino. All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? No discussion. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Brings us to item 4A, Michael Anderson, agent for GH Industries LLC and Closet Investments, and Michael Mason, property owner of North 114 West 18686 Clinton Drive. Conditional use permit, CUP application to allow horticultural services, excuse me, and snow removal service operations from property in an M1 limited industrial zoning district, and to allow a salt or de-icing material storage in a groundwater protection overlay district. There is a public hearing, but staff has requested to table the hearing until September 9th at 6:30 PM. Director Retzloff, you want to say anything, or?
Yes, just to point out that as was the case back on August 12th, the application submitted is not complete. And when I say that, I don't mean that to imply that the applicant has dragged his feet. In part, we were waiting for materials related to the code amendment to the wellhead protection ordinance that the Plan Commission recommended on August 12th and the village board passed last Monday on the 19th. As a result of that text amendment, there are additional materials that were needed in order to address the conditional use permit allowance for this particular business. That material needs to be reviewed and a recommendation made by the Wellhead Protection Committee before the Plan Commission and subsequent board can take action. The Wellhead Protection Committee is scheduled a meeting for tomorrow to review the information that we received leading up to today and additional information we received today from the applicant. So with that, staff is recommending and requesting that the public hearing be tabled until September 9th.
Commissioners?
I move that the item A on our new business for this evening be tabled until September 9th.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
Second, Commissioner Williams, second.
Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Takes us to item B, which is Michael Anderson, agent for GH Industries LLC and Closet Investments, and Mark Mason, property owner of North 114 West 18686 Clinton Drive. Proposed amendment to the list of prohibited uses in the section 17.4.10, parent I, parent J of the zoning code. This is a public hearing and if I have the right one, it's canceled because it was withdrawn.
Yes, if I could jump in, as a result of the code amendment that was approved by the village board on the 19th, that created a provision for a business to effectively replace a pre-existing prohibited business. This particular item is no longer necessary on behalf of the applicant, and so staff is requesting that the public hearing simply be canceled.
Okay. Commissioners, we need a motion to,
I move that we cancel item B on our business for this evening. Commissioner Shadid.
you've been promoted again.
Yeah.
We have a motion by Commissioner Shadid and a second by Commissioner Tarantino. All in favor, say aye. Or is there any discussion?
Aye.
No discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Brings us to item C on the agenda, which is Brian Curley from MSA Professional Services and Ben Cartlin, agent for Crossways Church property owner are requesting approval of the site development and building plans for a 107 stall parking lot expansion, new driveway connection to Santa Fe, Council Bluff Drive, and reconstruction of driveway entrance at Pilgrim Road for the existing church facility located at West 156 North 10041 Pilgrim Road. This is not subject to a public hearing. So I will discuss the emails that I've gotten in front of me, but we are not having people come forward at this time. So Director Retzloff, you want to start us off?
Yes, thank you. The Crossway Church parcel is 12.2 acres in size. The proposal is a parking lot, includes a parking lot expansion, 107 stalls, increase a net. There are 132 stalls that will be constructed. 25 are being replaced or relocated, again, for the net increase of 107 stalls for a total number of approximately 400 parking stalls on the site. As part of that, just under 53,000 square feet of additional impervious area will be added to the site. There is additional interior landscape buffering as well as perimeter buffering, both of which will be shown a little bit later on the landscape plan. Second component includes a new driveway, a parking lot connection to Santa Fe Council Bluffs Drive to the north. This graphic shows the proposed site plan. On the top of the plan, you'll see the dark blue area is a stormwater basin expansion. That's also part of the proposal. And leading past that on the west side, going north-south to the new parking area is a driveway that would connect to Santa Fe and Council Bluff as they come together, kind of a unique intersection there that would be extended with curb and gutter to provide for a driveway into the Crossway Church property. As part of that driveway connection, a stop sign and pavement markings would be installed. In addition to those two items, Pilgrim Road driveway reconstruction, there are two driveways. One serves as an entrance, one as an exit onto Pilgrim Road in the southeast corner of the property. Those entrances are being reconstructed. The north one is being widened from 22 to 40 feet, and the aprons and sidewalk across both entrances will be reconstructed to improve the ability to get in and out and eliminate some sort of a bump that exists in that location. And finally, the stormwater management basin expansion that I mentioned in the northwest corner of the property is proposed to increase the capacity of the on-site basin to accommodate the additional runoff from the parking. There's also some additional on-site storm sewer, swales, culverts, and riprap to be installed as shown in the plans. Just quickly, this graphic shows the demolition plan that's proposed. There are two different timeframes listed on the plan. Some of the work will be conducted in 2024, additional work in 2025. The site plan similarly showing work to be done this year yet and additional work to the south, the larger share of the new parking area to be completed next year. Grading plan, if we need to look at that more closely, and a new detail that's provided for the new intersection at Santa Fe and Council Bluffs. The landscape plan shown here, again, includes landscaping, deciduous trees, shrubs in the islands of the new parking area, and also a perimeter landscaping along the south and west edge of the new parking area along or abutting the west property line of this site. In terms of staff review, as indicated in the staff report, staff has concerns with the inadequate amount of traffic data that was collected or provided to predict the amount of traffic using the Santa Fe Council Bluffs driveway. As a result of that, if the proposal is approved, staff is recommending a condition that requires monitoring the traffic volume and turning movement counts at that particular intersection at 3-month intervals for a 1-year time period, with a report to be prepared consistent with the traffic impact analysis guidelines that are followed or recommended by the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. That would be reflected in a report by a professional traffic engineer submitted to the Public Works Department for review and consideration. Also intended is the report should identify any new or modified traffic control devices or measures that are necessary to address those traffic volumes and movements at that particular intersection. Village Forester had some minor concerns with the tree species selected for the perimeter buffer, recommending a different evergreen tree. And the village engineer has some minor technical corrections and plan revisions that he was recommending in a July 2nd memo. The applicant did in fact respond to those comments with revised plans that are included in the packet. The village engineer has not had time to verify that all of his concerns were addressed. So we're including a condition of approval upon his recommendation that requires all of those items to be addressed prior to commencement of construction. So with that, the staff recommendation is to approve the site development plans for the proposed parking lot, driveway extension, stormwater basin expansion, and the Pilgrim Road driveway reconstruction, subject to 6 conditions. And if necessary, we can read through those.
Commissioners. Start with a motion. Robert's rules require us to have a motion on the table before we can discuss.
I will make a motion to approve with the 6 conditions provided by the village staff.
We have a
Commissioner
motion.
Shadid?
We have a motion by Commissioner Shadid,
Commissioner Williams, I'll second it.
and a second by Commissioner Williams. Okay, now we can move into discussion. Before we get into discussion, yes,
I would just point out that we have representatives for the church here this evening, including Ben Cartland, Executive Director of Operations for the church, who has some additional comments to provide. Is that correct?
if you want to get up and speak now before we get into discussion.
Like you said, my name is Ben Cartland, Executive Director of Operations at Crossway Church. Like you mentioned, this is a multiple phase project, one being the parking lot expansion, and then coming out of that additionally, the connection to Santa Fe. As we evaluated not just the needs of Crossway Church, but the impact of the surrounding neighborhood, we are proposing the exit to Santa Fe for multiple reasons. One, certainly to help relieve traffic congestion in the parking lot, but also to relieve the pressure from the Pilgrim Road exit. There have been a few times over the last several years where unsafe situations have arisen from that exit. And so one of the ideas is to lessen the stress on those particular exits out to Pilgrim. So in addition, not only to the exit to Santa Fe, but that's also why we're proposing the changes to the entrance and exit to make getting into the parking lot off of the busyness of Pilgrim Road and out of the parking lot as efficient as possible. But even with those additions, we still feel like the traffic backs up as such where it can create unsafe situations for exiting and entering and exiting the parking lot. So that's kind of the background of the project and the why.
Okay, thank you very much. Before I go to discussion, members of the audience, I saw a lot of people filling out the yellow slips wanting to talk. How many people want to speak? Please raise your hand. There are 13 people that want to talk. How many of you have submitted an email to the board? Okay. Most of you have submitted emails. We've had the opportunity to read what you want to say. Is there something different? All of you are opposed to this effort.
Questions that we have.
All right, I will allow very brief question period. So if somebody has a question other than what you've written in here, you may come forward to the microphone. Very short.
What if I had a comment that I didn't put my email, but I didn't want to listen to 10 things?
I've got 17 emails that just say, I don't want this. I understand everybody doesn't want it, and there's
It's not a thing you don't want this. Might be parts of this. That's the problem. I don't care what big the parking lot is. I don't care about any of it.
what you don't want is the access to the back road. That's what,
That might create a problem with the subdivision.
that's
Problem on Pilgrim.
That's the gist we got from this. So you have a question, come forward.
Hi. I happen to be the property right on the corner.
Okay, please state your name and did you fill out a yellow form?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, bring that forward when you're done. When
Okay.
you're done.
My name is Emily Steichen. I'm at N101 W15877 Santa Fe Drive. So I'm right on the corner there. The first question I have, I guess, is what would be the timeline of this in terms of like when it would start and then how long it would take to complete? And
Okay, we will have the applicant give us that.
okay, and I saw the model on what was proposed to be demoed in terms of like the trees on the corner of the property. I'm obviously have a vested interest in that because that is, I mean, so for instance, what I see here is it looks like you're taking.
You have to step up to the microphone. Nobody can hear you on TV, so you got to stay at the microphone.
I think they can hear me just fine, but thank you.
On TV.
Okay, all right. But I am obviously concerned because it looks like the tree right there that is going to be, taken out and everything, that's on my property. It looks like that expands beyond, I don't know if that's, I genuinely don't know if that is city property, if that is my property. I haven't gotten an assessment recently, but I'm obviously, concerned about that because things happen in construction, I'm obviously concerned that that is going to expand into my property. I would love if somebody could come out to the property and show me exactly what's gonna happen, because I don't want to get into a situation where things on my property are being taken down and trees that cover that sight line, because from what I'm seeing, that demolition is not on the church's property. So those are my two questions and concerns.
Okay, so according to this drawing, you see the red dotted line at the north end of the parking lot?
Yeah.
Everything north of that dotted line will be done this year, 2024. Everything below that dotted line will be done in 2025.
The dotted line in the middle of the
Yes.
screen right there. So the parking lot will be done. Say that again?
Everything above that dotted line will be done in 2024. This year,
The driveway included in that?
yes. The road work. The this small little parking area and the drive lane will be done in 2024. And the road right. The stuff south of that, please. The stuff south of that red line will be done in 2025. Probably starting in the spring of 2025. The question of the trees and the road work next to your house, adjacent to your house, they're not allowed on your property. They can trim a tree at the property line. They cannot come on your property and take a tree down. If the tree is in the public right of way, that is the village to determine whether they can take it down or not.
Okay. Is there somebody who can come out, whether it's from Crossway or
There
whoever's?
will be stakes in your yard showing you where the property line is because they have to do a analysis of where the property is for the road right away.
Okay.
We can ask the Public Works Department to show the right-of-way line in some way
Mhm.
before the construction.
Okay. Yeah, that would be great.
Yes. So that answers your two
Thank you.
quick questions.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Come up here.
Yes, you must come to the front. Did you fill out a form? Please fill out a form at some point and turn it in.
My question is, why are we doing a study on the impact of traffic on Council Bluffs and Santa Fe after the driveway's put in? Why not do the work on Pilgrim, see if that alleviates their problems before they come in and bring all that traffic into our subdivision?
Okay, fair enough. You want to address that?
Well, right at this point, the staff recommendation is to approve, subject to monitoring over the course of the next year. The Plan Commission hasn't taken for,
Hey, wait, ho. We're not having everybody in the audience talking at once. I understand that, but everybody else needs to be quiet.
and so the Plan Commission hasn't taken action yet at this point. So it's to be determined whether or not they agree with the staff recommendation. They may say, put this on hold and do the study first. They may say, we don't need a study. We'll hear what they have to say later in the meeting. At this point, the staff recommendation is to monitor the traffic over the course of the next year or once the driveway is complete for a year and to report back to identify any findings that may result in the need for further improvements, traffic control devices, signage, pavement markings, things of that nature. Frankly, it's conceivable that the study may reveal that the driveway should be shut down. I don't anticipate that happening, but I think that's certainly a possibility. The problem with doing a traffic study at this point, in my opinion, is the key relies on the distribution of traffic through the neighborhood. And knowing how traffic impact studies are done, somebody makes a best guess as to how much traffic is going to be traveling to and from the site by way of this driveway, just like the church made a best guess based on presumably, I think it was 25% of a traffic amount, whether it be a church service or some special event. And the study would be done to verify that using actual traffic movements and volume counts.
The lady in the back, please come forward to the microphone. To fill out a yellow sheet. Yes, please give that to Jeff. Please state your name and address for the record.
I am Jackie Benning. Address is N101 W16151 Santa Fe. Lived there my whole life, literally just bought my parents' house. Most of you guys know him, Richard Erickson. So my question is, you talk about moving the traffic onto a subdivision saying that it's going to alleviate Pilgrim Road. Why not put up traffic lights where the church is to help during mass times and have yellow flashing lights or whatever like they do at the school district, at like the high school and stuff, when school's not in session? Could do the same thing. Either way, they still have to get out on Pilgrim Road because they have to drive through Council Bluffs, go on Pilgrim Road and still cross all the traffic. It's literally no different than pulling out of the existing parking lot that is extremely wide for entering and exiting. So my question is, why are they not looking at doing that instead of bombarding the neighborhood with cars, especially when there's a lot of young families moving in
Okay,
and causing dangers?
thank you for your question. We will have that. Is there any other questions? Questions, not comments? I'll go with you first. Please turn in your slip. State your name and address for the record.
Yes, Tom Cardinal. I live at North 101, West 16205 Santa Fe Drive. I've lived there about 30 years. My question is, how are they going to do a traffic study on a possible impact? Church is saying 75 cars per service, which means 75 in, 75 out. That's 150. On Sunday, 2 sermons, that's 300 cars going through this 90-degree angle intersection. This isn't a T, it's not an X, it's a frickin' 90-degree angle. 300 cars every Sunday. And in case anybody doesn't know, when you drive east on Santa Fe Drive, you're looking in the sun. I do it every morning when I go to work. I don't know how a study is going to be able to, of current traffic patterns, is going to address that. So I think that's important that if you do a study, that has to be included.
We will get that question answered as well. Thank
Okay.
you.
What's the question?
Question is, how can you possibly anticipate 75 to 100 cars on that road at a corner 90-degree intersection? They don't exist in the town because you're interrupting a corner. You're not interrupting a T section. You're not making an intersection. You have an L-shaped corner and you're just going to jam a road in there. What are you going to base that on? Where in the frickin' city have I ever seen that situation where a driveway just comes in at an angle, in the middle of a 90-degree angle? It doesn't exist, but we're going to put 300 cars every Sunday through that intersection.
Okay.
I'm wondering, how is the study going to address that?
We will discuss that. Next question. Sir.
Do I hand this to you?
To Jeff, yes.
Hi, my name is Steve Stapleman. I live at N101 W16478 Santa Fe Drive. And my question is kind of addressed towards, the church is a wonderful place in Germantown. We use it for voting, we do it there, but it's going to continue to grow. Have you guys as city planning members, before you approve this, asked them, have you considered buying and relocating the church outside like most churches do? The Bethlehem or Grace Lutheran built out somewhere, Bethlehem Lutheran's on Fond du Lac Avenue. Because it's going to continue to grow. And, and then, Saturday and Sunday services and Wednesdays. It is the incorrect choice for you guys to approve this 100%. To dump this into a neighborhood, consider moving the church would be the question
That's
to
your
be
question.
asked.
Okay,
It's a wonderful church,
thank you.
and pretty soon you're going to have 500 cars down. And then you guys are going to move out somewhere else.
Okay.
It's absurd.
Okay. Are any further questions? Question. Go ahead. Did you fill out a form? And if you didn't fill it out already, please fill it out after you're done. Hand it to Jeff.
My name is George Liberatore. I live at North 101, West 16325 Santa Fe Drive. I sent you an email.
Yes,
I got a response.
yes.
All the response really said was, you don't need to get public opinion. Thank you for taking it, but I want to know what you're going to do about this public opinion. People are against this. What are you going to do about that?
That's what we're going to talk about.
Okay. I think one of the things that bothers me the most, and a couple people have brought it up, is
You're beyond a question.
Okay, what are you gonna do about the 300 cars a day for services going through our subdivision and keeping people safe?
Okay. Okay. One more question. Yes, ma'am. Please come forward. Hi.
Okay, I live on North 101 West 15842 Santa Fe Drive, right across from where the road is going to be built. All the lights, all the ice, everything. I want to know, okay, a couple things. Are you also, I heard something about it, and this is a question. Are you talking about a sidewalk also going in there? That will go? No. Okay, I heard from somebody that, and there was somebody with a yellow jacket on that said, yeah, they were talking about possibility of a sidewalk going around there too. And do you realize that we had to put a no parking sign?
Questions only. Questions only, please. I got,
A question is, are you going to put stop signs at the end? I might have misunderstood. Are you putting stop signs at the very end of the driveway so that they will have to stop and look, or are you gonna put bumpers, so that they have to slow down? First question. Second question, Council Bluff at the corner. Is there going to be a stop light there? So people that are going into the church through that road, that they're going to have to stop, look to see if there are any other cars coming down Santa Fe, or if there's any dogs with people and babies are strolling and walking, or do we have to stop it during the services because we're afraid we're going to be run over? That scares the bejeebies out of me because there's a good family.
Okay.
All right, so,
thank you.
all right, I'm sorry, but
Sorry,
I'm very emotional because I'm emotional because that's my house right across from it.
I understand.
Right across. I've been there 48 years.
I got 17 aggravated emails. So last question, sir.
Question. My name is Mike Wilhelm. Some of you here know me, some of you don't know me. I listen to this gentleman right now. And he says, well, we got a problem because we need to have a driveway put in. And you want to run that driveway over to our place. Right now, we live where it's like a racetrack, ladies and gentlemen. People go through there like you
Please, your
can't believe.
question, please.
My question is, there's only one way in and one way out of that street. You're landlocked there. And now you're gonna dump a few hundred other cars here on a Sunday morning, or maybe some others. What are you gonna do to help us?
One way.
Now, you wanna help your church. Why don't you help us? That's what we wanna know, what you're gonna do.
We're gonna have that discussion. One way in and out of which road?
You come in off of Pilgrim, that's one way in. And the other way in is if you get down and you gotta run down a wagon wheel, then you gotta hang a right, and then you gotta go up to Division. There are no other escape routes. If there's a fire in there,
Okay.
any of this stuff would ever happen. You're kind of landlocked there, Mr. Baum. It's not a simple scenario. It's a racetrack there right now.
Thank you. Okay. Commissioners. Questions, comments, discussions? We've all been given the 17 emails.
I have one particular question on the comment about the access to Pilgrim. What's the east-west street? Is that Santa Fe or is that
Santa Fe is the
Council
east-west.
Okay.
It's a combination.
the Council Bluffs? Okay. So Council Bluffs would be one in out. And then there's the two that are in front of the church. I did hear the church comment that there's too much congestion with just those two. How is just another, just a few hundred feet north, your third exit will come out that way? How is that gonna help you?
So if we can have the church representative step up to the microphone, because I think all these questions are valid that we would like to hear answers to.
Sure.
So first question, why this solution? Why not some other solution? Why not do something corrective, majorly corrective at Pilgrim Road?
Yeah, so the changes that we propose really take into account what tends to happen specifically on a Sunday and also whenever the church is busy, like somebody mentioned during elections and things like that, is people taking a left into the parking lot are waiting in a line, and that line backs up to where the exit is. And so anybody who wants to go northbound coming out of the parking lot can't make that turn because the line goes past the exit. And so it just creates a lot more congestion, and then people tend to make a little bit more aggressive decisions when coming out of the parking lot. So that is why just upgrading the entrance and exit alone, though it will help with that problem, won't completely solve it based on what we've seen.
About a traffic signal out front of your facility.
Yeah, I kind of like that idea. That was neat.
I'm sorry?
I like the idea of this traffic signal.
Have you
The
looked into
idea
that?
that it would operate only at busy times. I can't think of a site where that's going on right now, but I've seen it many times. So the sign would be inactive. You see them around schools where they just flash, okay? But I've actually seen traffic control signs.
Mm.
So they're red and green at certain times of the day and certain days.
Yeah.
Has that been considered?
It has not.
I never thought of it till the one person brought it up.
Yeah, myself either. And so, it's I'm not saying that Santa Fe is the only solution, but just that our current solutions that we've been able to come up with aren't serving the purposes of the church and the people that use the church.
Okay, and there's multiple ways to exit this. You've only focused on one. You haven't shown us any. I don't know if Director Retzloff, you have gotten other solutions shown to you, or is this the only one that's come forward?
No, this is what was proposed.
Okay,
And in the review by the village engineer at this point, didn't indicate a need or desire to require any further traffic analysis at this point in time.
I think the residents are owed an additional analysis, even though the engineer doesn't want it. There's no traffic study until the next year after you put this in. What is that? That doesn't do us any good. So what's the use of a traffic study after this is in? It just counts the cars that are going down here. But the residents know that we're gonna have hundreds of cars going down this road.
Well, yes, it remains to be seen what the actual volume is going to be.
Right.
I mean,
But-
honestly, even their estimate
Wait, hey,
could be
hey,
150.
hey, hey.
You're right. It could.
No comments from the audience, please.
No, you indicated, Ben, that the current issue is it northbound left turns into the site?
Exiting the site, going northbound, when traffic backs up from the entrance.
Okay. So the problem is internal, backing up in the parking lot.
No, it's the traffic going northbound on Pilgrim trying to turn in. Maybe this is what you're saying, trying to turn in, can't get past the traffic that's going southbound. So they all start lining up. I've experienced it on a Sunday morning.
Right.
It's,
So that traffic is heading to the church from the south.
mhm.
How will this driveway address traffic that's coming from the south?
It won't.
It won't.
Maybe the line would be shorter.
Possible.
And it would allow a northbound exit. So there would be less cars that would require the left turn to go north.
I mean, is it your gut feeling that people who are coming to the church from the west in the north are coming from the south?
No, it's the issue that's created the most situations has been the the traffic backing up to make a left turn into the parking lot, thus preventing anybody exiting from making a left turn to go north because the line backs up all the way across the exit. So what we've seen is some issues with trying to get people out of the parking lot. In addition to the traffic on Pilgrim Road, we've had some issues with as well.
You should, yeah, you can't go northbound out of this place after a service. There's no way to make a left-hand turn out of the parking lot. Both of them are, both locations are blocked by traffic. So if you're, it's a problem.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I may be missing, this may be completely impossible, but why don't you stagger your services further apart so that you can actually use both driveways as an exit, one turning left only, one turning right only? The people are gone before your next service. People are coming. Why is that not an option or a solution?
Yeah, so the challenge with that is that the only traffic that enters and exits the building or the parking lot is not just at the times of services. So whether it's volunteers that are coming in or volunteers that are leaving, there's always a turn of cars coming in and out of the parking lot throughout a weekend. So there's not really a time where we would expect nobody to be either coming in or going out of the parking lot.
Okay, so anything further on that one? Okay, have you considered relocating? It's being brought up, it's being questioned. I don't see it as a viable solution for a church as big as you are already. You went from a small church to this location to expand and grow.
Yeah, we have not considered it, but that is, that's currently not a, we haven't run out of room, and we have seen good growth, but we just are continuing to do what we feel like, we're called to do in the area, in the neighborhood that we exist. And so
Safety is a great concern by more than just the people that are in the audience. I believe that is something that should be part of a traffic study as to how many cars are actually going to go that way. And yes, how is that going to impact the residents?
yeah.
That is something that really should be considered and addressed, and there was no requirement to have a neighborhood meeting on this?
We don't require it, no.
We don't, okay.
No requirement for it. We suggest things as far back as May when we first discussed this application. I brought up the idea that there would be neighborhood concern,
Mhm.
and that we would send out a letter, which we did. And here we are. And you're here tonight at the meeting.
Yes. Yes, but you're here. You got informed and you are here. Thank you. Hey, sir, please. We can't have everybody talking.
Just, to a small comment on the safety. I mean, the safety is our concern as well. We're not trying to make this decision in a vacuum. And we've had conversations about different ways to control the traffic on times, not during services, whether it's putting up gates or not. I know that's a conversation that's happened. And a variety of other conversations. We're not trying to make this decision in a bubble. We want to make sure that we're serving the community around us. And a part of that is making sure that the neighborhoods and the community is safe. And so it's not we're not trying to turn a blind eye to some of the challenges of this.
But it's perceived that you are doing this in a bubble because you haven't talked to the residents. You don't have any studies. You haven't provided any other alternative. You've only gone down this road. So you got to understand where their perspective is. You are doing it in a bubble with no input from them.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll say this, that, and I can turn it over to Brian if he has further comment on this, but, from my perspective, I followed the process that was laid before me. We put the applications in, followed the process that Jeff and others put in front of us to do this. And if there is a neighborhood meeting that's required, I'll stand and have the conversation there as well. It was not my intent to, you know, have that perception. I followed the process that was laid in front of me. We followed the process that was laid in front of us, and we're here. So I'm not opposed to that,
Okay.
or trying to weasel my way out of it.
Next questions that were brought up were stoplights and stop signs. I don't see any provisions for stoplights being presented. Are there provisions for stop signs
Yeah,
anywhere?
there's a stop sign that would be installed at the end of the new driveway at the intersection, along with a stop bar. Those items are shown here. So
So you-
the black solid bar, the thick is a stop bar that would be,
Stop here before making your turn.
yeah, and the stop sign would be,
Adjacent to it.
yes.
Okay, so you get one stop sign, no stop lights. One way in and out of Santa Fe and the other road. That's,
Yeah,
Council Bluff is taking you back to Pilgrim Road. So, okay,
All this traffic is gonna.
Okay. hey. No talking. Commissioners, further comments for this
I still
discussion?
think the situation on Santa Fe onto Pilgrim is not appropriate. I mean, I can see that if you got 10 or 15, maybe more cars, service is ended, you're lined up there as well as the other two positions. And I know at the end of Santa Fe, it's not easy to have cars turning left and turning right. So they'll be piled up there trying to turn left. That'll be tough. If they turn right, they're gonna run into the other traffic situation. I don't know that you have covered all the possible alternatives. There's the traffic lights we saw tonight. That was one way. I don't know if Santa Fe's the only option. I think it is. I don't think you have any other out options. But I don't know that you've covered all the bases. And then there's the whole idea of talking to the neighborhood.
Sure.
The fact that we don't require it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
Yeah, like I said, I was not presented with that option. And this is the first I'm hearing of that possibility. And so like I said, I'm for it. If that's what we want to do.
What was the road supposed to be? Or where Santa Fe meets Council Bluffs on that corner?
If you go back in history, I think it was an extension of the road for additional subdivision.
I would assume that'd be.
It
the
wasn't
case.
intended for an institutional use.
And then is the south entrance, is that an in and an out? And then is the north entrance only one or the other? I see the one has the island in the,
Yeah, the one on the south with the island is the exit. So exits both left and right turn, and then the entrance is the northerly one.
just a dumb idea, but would it make any sense? You design the stuff all day. To have one, but bigger, as far as having two so close to each other?
I would leave that to a civil engineer, a traffic engineer to say whether if we just go
Because then you'd lose the
exit
effect of
north.
it bridging past the other.
left-hand turns only out of the north access, right-hand turns only out of the south access points, then you're gonna have head-on collisions because you cannot,
Well,
you
if
got people coming and going at the
If
same
you
time.
split, well, if you took away the north driveway altogether and widened the south driveway and a conglomeration of the lights when it's so
That's,
busier.
that's for a traffic engineer to address that kind of
I just think less.
alternative movement.
Uh,
Yeah, that's a redesign of this,
Go back again to, we haven't looked at all the alternatives.
right?
Well, because I think it would just. Council Bluffs is 3 football fields from the north entrance. So that's anybody that makes it through Council Bluffs and turns right back or south onto Pilgrim's gonna be running into the traffic, or they're gonna be waiting in a line on Council Bluffs to
To go
turn
northbound,
north.
right?
'Cause- So,
Yes.
Yeah, the main difference being they'll, when traffic clears, they'll be allowed to make that turn because there won't be a line in front of that road.
yeah,
So my personal opinion is this should go back to the designer and have a neighborhood meeting, get a traffic study done, show us and the residents how many cars are coming and going, see if there are other viable options for doing something on Pilgrim Road before we start bringing this through a subdivision.
Is there the ability to split the projects between the parking lot stall addition and the upgrades to the entrance, the existing entrance and exit from the conversation about the Santa Fe connection?
It's conceivable you could approve everything except the driveway connection to Santa Fe. That would include the parking lot expansion, the stormwater basin expansion, the Pilgrim Road driveways reconstruction, and the landscaping associated with all of it.
So we could approve everything except the driveway and put conditions on that driveway being installed till we have a traffic study, till the analysis of other alternatives on Pilgrim Road have been done. And that road, that additional drive lane doesn't happen, but the rest of the parking lot does.
My question would still be that if that's installed, then it's kind of more putting.
More pressure, but the reality of putting all this parking in and not doing anything with the main entrance, you need to analyze what's happening with the main entrance. I would analyze what's happening with the main entrance before I put in more parking. So that would be what I would do.
Just right turn only after some.
It needs to be analyzed. I'm not a traffic engineer. None of us are traffic engineers. We need to find out from a professional what is best for this. If one of you guys is a traffic engineer and wants to come up and tell us why this is the best solution, I'll be happy to. So, that's my 2 cents. I'm not supposed to make motions from this seat, am I? Or can I?
You can.
I can?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to proceed with the approval of the parking expansion. Motion will include not installing the drive lane to the north until a full traffic study analysis is done of all the entrance and access ways to evaluate a better alternative than going through a subdivision. It's an amendment to the motion. You made a motion to approve this as is. I'm making an amendment to your motion to not approve the drive lane until traffic studies are done, neighborhood meeting happens, and this is worked through.
I will second your amendment.
We have a motion and a second for an amendment. Any discussion on the amendment?
Yes.
Yes,
Can you just clarify the criteria, the items that you want done before we bring this back for
Yes.
further consideration and review?
I believe the traffic analysis should be done as soon as possible before bringing a solution to the table. I believe multiple options should be brought to the table for this board to review. And then I believe they should have those solutions and have meetings with the neighbors to see what the neighbors' input is.
Okay, so a public neighborhood meeting. They would present
Multiple options.
multiple options. And you want the traffic study to evaluate all possible options?
Yes.
And can they rule out any of those right away before it comes back to the plan commission, or do you want to see everything?
For example, rule out, what do you mean?
A traffic light on Pilgrim Road, if the village public works department is not in favor of that, why would we bring it to you for consideration?
If our engineering department says, no, one of these is not feasible, then we can drop it off the
All
list.
right.
But there's multiple options that can be evaluated to look at this and see how we can do things. Even another thing, we talked about the flashing light for where I've been around to, they just have a cop. They have a public safety officer directing the in and out traffic, and it goes a lot smoother. Maybe we contribute to the cost of doing that. So those are other alternatives that could happen.
One clarification on the amendment, is the neighborhood meeting required if that's not an option that's selected by the church?
The neighborhood should be, you could see
No, I'm
The
saying if
input.
they come back with an alternative option that doesn't involve the neighborhood.
Going through the
then-
neighborhood?
then-
Oh,
then-
if you choose not to go through the neighborhood, then no, you don't have to have a neighborhood meeting. Yeah, if you've solved the problem on Pilgrim Road and you're not going through all their stuff, then true. Okay. Further questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second to amend the original motion. No further discussion on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment, say aye. Opposed? Amendment carries. Brings us back to the original motion. Anything further to discuss?
The motion is amended. 5 conditions. Correct. That was all the term.
Yeah.
Private leadership.
Correct.
That's stricken and moved to only voting first 5 conditions.
Correct. So everybody understands this. We are included in the approval at this point is items 1 through 5, which is the approval of the plans that we've been given, the landscaping. Outstanding issues with village staff have to be addressed. Proposed evergreen tree landscaping, so there's landscaping issues, number 4. Number 5 is right-of-way and erosion control permits. So the main issue that the amendment brought up is addressing item number 6, which is how are you getting in and out of this facility? Okay, everybody understand where we're at? Okay, any further discussion? With no discussion, all in favor of the motion as, all in favor of the motion as amended, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to the next, which is item D, which is Emily Gerdowskas, did I pronounce that right? Close enough. From Plunkett Racich Architects and Ben Cartlin, agents for Crossway Church, property owner, are requesting approval of a site development and building plan for a 2,240 square foot addition and remodeling project for the existing church facility located at West 156 North 10041 Pilgrim Road. Director Etzloff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The second Crossway Church item is, as you indicated, a building and entrance remodel. The area in question is shown on the screen, highlighted in red. The existing breezeway that's located between the original building on the right, the east, is going to be removed and replaced with a net increase of 2,240 square feet. That would include a new access entrance on that south elevation, included interior space, a toddler classroom, elevator. There's also some exterior lighting that's going to be relocated and upgraded, sidewalk replacement and landscaping to be replaced on the south elevation around the original building, and also replacing all of the exterior finish on all of the elevations of the original building. with the combination of split face CMU block, EFS, and smart side siding. This area shows the general location of the portions of the building to be demoed. The site plan, again, the general area of the new construction. The floor plan for the first floor shows the detail. If need be, we can look at that closely. The lower level floor plan and the elevations that show the materials and the new construction for the area to be remodeled. Additional landscaping, again, along that south elevation from the new entryway on the west to in front of the remodeled building. With that, the staff recommendation is to approve the site development and building plans, subject to 3 conditions. Plunkett Racich, do you have some comments that you want to make or elaborate on my brief summary of your proposal?
Jason Pusta with Plunkett Racich Architects, Emily Gradowskis with Plunkett Racich Architects. Mr. Retzloff, I think you did a good job summarizing the project. I just want to talk about a couple nuances that I think help understand the project. If you could go to the floor plan, please.
Sure.
Thank you. So as was mentioned, there's an existing breezeway that currently connects the original part of the building to the addition that was created. That breezeway is really a pinch point for them and an area where they have some issues with some security as they check in youngsters into their programs. And so the main portion of the addition is to allow just essentially a much larger lobby space. In that area. So really just allowing people to come inside as they check in their children to go to their various programs on a Sunday. And so there's really no change in use of the space. It's just that currently people are stacking up outside and or doubled up real close to each other, can't get access to computers in that small breezeway space and the current adjacent space that's being used. But as I said, there's really no change in use per se or an increase in count that is associated with this addition. And then the other thing I just wanted to clarify, most of the other spaces are just remodels as a result of kind of adding this addition to it. And then, of course, we're doing some upgrades to allow an elevator to be installed to provide accessible environment on both floors.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, can we get a motion to start with?
I will move approval of the proposal with the conditions from the village staff.
Commissioner Shadid makes a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second from Commissioner Tarantino. Okay, discussion. Concerns, questions, comments? None? Seeing none?
I
Yes.
just think for clarification, there's a moving the entrance there to the new addition, right?
Yes.
Because the dormer area there that we see in the middle of the top picture, that's where the door is today, isn't it?
The gable end is in the center of that
Right.
now. And yes, they're closing that up, putting a window in and putting a new entrance.
Okay,
Correct?
just clarification.
Certainly. No further questions? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you for coming. Thank you for continuing to serve our village. That will bring us to the next item on the agenda, which is Community Development Department Ordinance Amendment. Community Development Department Ordinance Amendment, Section 1.29, Parent 1 of the Germantown Municipal Code to amend the membership of the Plan Commission. There will be action on this. Before we depart the last one, what I was thinking about while we were talking is that church out in Waukesha. Anybody know what that big, huge monster church is out there? Elmbrook, yeah. They have the same issue. I want to see what they did. So, okay. Director Retzloff, is this your?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's actually the village attorney, Brian Sadak, in working with staff, is proposing an amendment to section 1.29 of the municipal code. It's the plan commission section that provides for a plan commission and the general powers of the plan commission. As you may recall, in the 2050 plan, there was a policy objective to create an advisory position on the plan commission for a school district representative. In the course of trying to fill that position, the attorney pointed out that we first need to create the opportunity for that in the code. And he is proposing an amendment to that section of the code 1.29 that provides for that advisory position on the plan commission for a representative of the school district. At the same time, the attorney is also proposing some what I would term housekeeping measures to that particular section of the code. The first item is to clean up the wording to reflect what's in the state statute and best practices and also historical practice of the village. First, the plan commission, the statute says should be 7 voting members. Our ordinance provides for at least 7 members. So we're going to match the language in the statute. The ordinance also changes the appointment of the trustee member to match historical practice, where the village president has nominated the trustee member at the organizational meeting subject to board confirmation. And finally, the ordinance provides removes the provision that currently allows any trustee to fill a spot on the plan commission to create a quorum. And he elaborates as to why that needs to be removed and comes up with a worst case scenario. If need be, we can talk about that. But essentially, the code currently allows for, if, for example, we didn't have 4 members tonight and there was a trustee in the audience, she could basically stand up and serve as a fill-in member in order to make a quorum. I was referring to Trustee Miller, if she's trustee tonight or resident. You're both, okay. So those are the amendments. The proposed ordinance is in the packet. This item doesn't require a public hearing because it's not a change to the zoning code. But the attorney wanted the plan commission to give their blessing to it before it goes on to the village board for their review and consideration.
Okay.
At a subsequent meeting.
Thank you. Commissioners.
Move approval to the changes as presented.
Okay, Commissioner Shadid made the motion. We have a motion and a second. Discussion. I will tell you that the reason why we are doing this, one of the reasons why is we have been hounded that we need to have better communication with the school board. We've tried having various meetings with them the 5th Monday of the month. We're not successful at that. So we felt that if we put some member of their board on the plan commission, they would actually hear what we're doing and take it back to the school board and convey the information that we can't seem to get over to them. So that's my understanding of why we're doing this.
Yes. And apparently our original approach was a little too casual for the village attorney. We actually had a member of the school district, employee of the school district was appointed by their administrator to serve as that advisory role on the plan commission. And we sent materials to that particular individual, but never heard from them for 2 or 3 meetings. And around that time, we got word from the school district president who had a better idea on how to address that from their end. And it was at that point that it was revealed, decided by the village attorney, we needed to formalize the wording in the code.
And that person was added to our committee back in April, as I recall, with the reorganization meeting.
Yes. And that person will be, as I understand it, that person will be replaced by Russ Ewert, a member of the school district board. And I believe all we're waiting for is a village board approval of this particular code amendment. And then Mr. Ewert can continue or start his role as an advisor to the plan commission.
Okay, President Walter is online now.
I see that.
Does he have anything he wants to say?
No, I think you've covered everything quite clearly.
Thank you. Okay, committee, can we have a motion? We have a motion. We have a motion. We have a second. Any further discussion?
I have one clarification question. The school board member as an advisory role, is that a non-voting advisory role or a voting? Are they one of the 7 voting members? Or
No.
It's a non-voting position. So we still have a need for one voting member to be filled.
Okay. All right, further discussion. Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. That takes us to the final item on the agenda, which is the Community Development Department and the Holy Hill Gateway project. Where's my cover sheet on that? This is there is no top part to this. So it is a discussion of the Holy Hill Gateway Master Plan. Director Retzloff, you want to listen?
Yes, I would point out its discussion and action because I will be looking for the plan commission to direct staff to proceed with publishing the RFP in a manner similar to what we did last year. We essentially handpicked consultants that we knew could do the work, about a dozen in the state of Wisconsin, and we sent out the RFP to them, and then we published it as a standard notice. So we did both. We published an RFP and we extended an invitation to respond to our RFP. And ultimately, we had 3 firms that responded that we chose to conduct interviews for, and it was around this time last year that we were going through that process. And then it was put on hold because of primarily because of the issues surrounding the village's application for railroad crossing at the High Point Pass at the railroad, just right at the south about border between the Holy Hill Gateway District and the Freistadt District. If you recall, that frontage road currently is a private driveway that serves the self-storage, Holy Hill self-storage facility. And the intention is for the village to acquire the right-of-way necessary to construct that frontage road, today being referred to as High Point Pass, from Holy Hill Road south across the railroad and into the Freistadt District, ultimately down to Freistadt Road. That would serve development in the far south side of the Holy Hill Gateway District and throughout the Freistadt District. At the time last year, the thought was that we would make application to the Officer of the Commissioner of Railroads, and the process, that application would be reviewed and action taken. At the time, our process was getting started or early on in that process. We quickly learned that our expectations should be toned down just a bit, in that the process of applying for the railroad crossing would likely take 6 to 9 months to get through the process, which, if that were true, our master planning process for the combined Holy Hill Gateway and Freistadt districts would likely be more than midway, if not completely over. We're too far into the process, I should say, for our benefit. In addition to that, we received word from the Officer of the Commissioner of Railroads. They were pushing back on us even making application because at the time we didn't own the right of way. So we would be making an application for a crossing for something that realistically didn't exist yet. And they were essentially telling us at a staff level, your application's too ripe. for even applying. So we put the whole process of the master plan for Holy Hill Gateway and the Freistadt District. It was intended to be a combined master plan for both areas. We put those on hold pending progress on the railroad crossing application. Fast forward to today, complications with acquiring the right of way. It's all tied into the truck country proposal, the Richfield utility extension through this particular area for reasons all related to that. We just have been kept kicking the can down the road, so to speak, on proceeding with the master planning effort for the Holy Hill Gateway and Freistadt districts. At this point, we talked about it at a staff level, and the decision was to proceed with just the Holy Hill Gateway District Master Plan and wait on the Freistadt District until we have final word on that railroad crossing application, and also whether or not there'd be any complications further with the utility extension through the Freistadt District. So that's what we're proposing at this point, is to move forward with a master plan effort for the Holy Hill Gateway District, that area that's highlighted in purple on the screen. You may recall that as part of the 2050 plan, we had a vision plan, essentially a concept plan for future development in both the Holy Hill Gateway and Freistadt districts that I'm showing on the screen, that shows essentially in the Freistadt district, in the Holy Hill Gateway district north of Holy Hill Road, the area in red was intended to be mixed use, commercial and high density residential. The tan area is already developed with the warehousing area, the Zilber corporate park, and the purple area around it, filling out the rest of the Holy Hill Gateway District, intended to be business park. Now, there's also the provisional area that's shown with that black dashed box, if you will. That was intended to address any development proposals that would be presented to the village before the master planning effort was done. Essentially, the village is saying that if you were to come in with a development proposal for this particular area, you could only develop it with what land uses were provided for under the 2020 plan, which essentially was agriculture and low density residential, no more than 1 unit per 5 acres. And so the plan is now to move forward with developing a master plan for the Holy Hill Gateway District alone, and essentially plan in more detail, not only land uses, but also identify future road extensions and stormwater management, and maybe more importantly, identify that perimeter buffer area around the outside of the Holy Hill Gateway District on the north and the east and the south above Isabel Farms neighborhood, those areas where they abut the other neighborhoods that surround the Gateway District. At this point, the request of staff is to authorize us to move forward with releasing the proposal. The idea would be that it would be released on September 4th with a deadline for submitting proposals on October 4th. In between, we'd have a short period of time where we would allow consultants to ask questions. We would respond. This seemed to be successful the first time around last year to help clarify what the village is looking for and help the consultants further refine their proposals. The idea being that there would also be evaluation by the evaluation team, which is essentially the village administrator, village president, a public works director, and the village planner. And we would make a recommendation, the evaluation team, to the plan commission, who would review the proposals on October 14th. And we would go from there. We would follow the same process where we would select consultants for interviews, up to 3, and then hold those, and get finally the village board consideration review of the recommendation early November, finalize a contract in the first few weeks of November with the idea that we would kick off the project in early December. Little bit ambitious schedule, but if we can shoot for something like this, we can modify as necessary.
Thank you, Director Retzlaff. Commissioners?
I should point out before you jump in that the proposal that you have in your packet, the request for proposal document, was essentially the same RFP that was sent out last year, except for we deleted all references to the Freistadt district. Apparently except one. It was pointed out to me that there's still one in there that shouldn't be. And we'll take care of that as necessary.
Commissioners? Can we start with a motion?
What is, so we have, I mean, I'm willing to make the motion.
It could be as simple as approve as presented.
Okay, I guess I could say approve as, I move that we approve the plan
As presented.
presented as I'm seeing it up here on the screen.
We have a motion to approve the RFP as presented with the timeline that has been discussed this evening. Is that the
That's it.
true motion? Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second. Commissioner Williams.
Commissioner Williams seconded. Discussion. President Walter, do you want to weigh in?
No, I think it is like Jeff said, it's an aggressive timeline, but it, can be doable based on, some of the approvals going through. And if we're able to get the meetings in place that are necessary for the preliminary setup to the village board to approve the RFP, I think we're well on our way to start the discussions on the Holy Hill master plan and starting to put some things in place that people have been looking for a while. It's, some explanations of what the buffer area is, how far the business and commercial would go, the warehouse, where they are, where they stop, and then what protections would be put in place for the surrounding neighborhoods that are either to the north or to the south down along Isabel Farms. So I think it's a good plan based on what Jeff said in regards to the unknown that we have for the Freistadt district at this time. And it gives us something at least to move forward with rather than just waiting for them all to happen at once and, the stars to align. And I think it's best just to start with something rather than wait for both districts, which would be preferred, of course, because they kind of tie one to the other. But at least let's move forward with this one so we can start the process. And see how how that process works, and as other districts come up, we can refine it as necessary.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll also say that the provisional area, Jeff, can you bring that map back up again? That is included in this RFP. There's no reason to call it out separate or identify anything because
What area? I'm sorry.
the provisional area inside the dotted line.
It is these two graphics that show the provisional area are included as exhibits to the RFP. If necessary, we can throw in some wording that would need to be addressed, but it's pretty straightforward in that the intention is to create a detailed land use plan for the entire area that would effectively replace the provisional land use provision in the 2050 plan.
With an actual plan that has input from the neighboring residents.
Correct.
And there will be during this process, after we select somebody, during the process of doing this plan, we will have multiple neighborhood meetings.
Correct. That is the intention. As we discussed, when the 2050 plan was adopted, that each of the 32 neighborhood districts and corridors would have their own individualized master planning process where we would hold the quote unquote neighborhood meetings to further discuss and refine the land use for those particular neighborhoods. So we want to get, we need to get the process going, and it doesn't help to delay any longer by tying it to the Freistadt district, because frankly, we still have not made application to the railroad for the crossing. By dividing the two, separating the two master plans, and as indicated in here in the RFP, the intention is to try and get a project done within a 9-month schedule. Whereas with the joint master plans under the previous, the consultants were telling us it was going to take 12 to 15 months. So I think we can be a little more efficient with just the one area, particularly in light of the fact that a lion's share of it is already developed. The red area shown on this concept plan is no longer able to be mixed-use commercial and high-density residential because it is now owned by Green Bay Packaging, and that facility is under construction as we speak.
Okay. Questions, comments, discussion?
Just one question. Do we anticipate an increase in the expense or cost? But available if we're separating the two proposals into separate RFPs.
Yeah, I threw in a number of 65,000 for this one. It's near the end of the RFP.
So when you had the 65,000, that excluded the part we're leaving out, right?
Yes, it's just
Okay.
for the Holyoke Gateway District. We're going to rephrase that slightly so it's an up to amount. But previously, when we were looking at the two master plans together, we had a range of 45 to 65, and the consultants were telling us that they were going to have to pare back and give,
I remember that.
weren't going to be able to do all of what we had asked for in the RFP. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to get a more robust plan by focusing on just one area at a time and moving forward that way. And frankly, maybe we get more of a response. Some of the consultants that we sent, that we invited to respond to the RFP, basically told us we can't do it for that amount of money.
Further discussion? Seeing none? All in
Wait,
favor?
wait.
Yes.
With the timeline that's out there, I think it's important to go forward with this particular neighborhood because it starts to create the boilerplate for all future planning for each of the master plans of the neighborhoods. And as Jeff said, there's 36 individual. And if we took that timeline across those 36, none of us would be alive to finish that last one based on, the time of 9 to 10 months for each one. So I think once we get a boilerplate down of how it works and the public meetings are, how they occur, which ones work best and how they're, scheduled and how they're, where they're placed in regards to the largest amount of participation, we can start to look at grouping some of these other neighborhoods that are, let's say, more complete in the southern section of the village, especially the heavy residential areas that, are pretty much planned out. Those could be grouped up to where we're not having to do 36 individual planned neighborhoods. You can do a group of those that are congruent to each other and have roads that connect to one another, because that plan is pretty well done and you're just pretty much finalizing what it is, except for maybe a couple fill-in projects here or there. So I think this is a good way to start that process. It gets us in the rhythm of how these meetings are going to work. It gets the board and the plan commission and everybody used to how the RFPs come back from the different groups that are able to help us with this, and it really starts to get that ball rolling. If we don't choose to move it now, there's a lot of reasons of not to create it going forward, always waiting for this or that. This is a good opportunity to at least push this forward so that we can start the process and refine it as we start to go into other neighborhoods.
Thank you very much. Any further comments, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? President Walter, you are in favor?
I am in favor.
Okay, motion carries unanimously. That brings us to item 5, citizen input and public appearance. Please be advised per 19.8 for parent 2 that information and comment will be received from the public. It is the policy of this municipality that public input be limited to 3 minutes, 3-minute period per person with a time extension granted at the discretion of the chairperson. Be advised that there may be limited discussion of the information received, but no action will take place under public comment. Is there anybody wishing to come forward? Let's start with Ms. Cutts, and then we'll go from there. Are you speaking as a trustee or a resident?
Both. Meg Cutts, Bonnywell Road. I live in Woodside neighborhood, and I also represent that district. So I would just, first I want to say thank you for bringing up the neighborhood meetings earlier as related to Crossway and bringing the neighbors in to answer their questions and to talk to them. So, and I just would, I guess, like more clarification on what is meant by neighborhood meetings, because Director Etzloff just said, quote unquote, neighborhood meetings. Does that mean when something's finally done for the Holy Hill District, there'll be actual meetings where residents of Isabel and Woodside can sit down and talk about what's happening, or are plans just going to be presented and then you'll just listen to what they say and not many adjustments at that point? So that's just, I guess, my comment question. Thank you.
In the back.
Do I have to do another one?
No.
Good, okay. Jacqueline Benning. So I have, a question about not Santa Fe, the other project, because that was already discussed, but Spaslin Park, the north entrance, which comes out on Santa Fe. I have gone to the police station. I have made complaints to them. They told me, apparently it's you guys that made these rules or changes or something. I don't really know. So there's a designated path. It's spelled out. They actually just spray painted it like last month again, saying school Xing, because County Line Elementary School, it was set up to be an entryway for the elementary. I know that because my dad was the business manager that set that up. However, cars are parking over that crosswalk, and it makes it very hard to see people exiting that park. Where my kids, I've seen adults, other children, almost getting hit by cars because it's blocked, or like during winter, it was horrible. One car in particular, they live right across from it. They block it. The snow plow comes through, and then there's this huge pile, and you know how much snow we got last year. It was insane. Covered half of the road. So all the cars had to go into each other when we were trying to get through. And when I talked to the police department and I said, why are they not getting ticketed? Because of state statute, you have to park 15 feet away from a crosswalk. They said something about there being a new rule, they'll look into it. I said, new rule? Since when is there a new rule about not parking over a crosswalk? And on top of it, it's a school crossing. It's not even a typical crosswalk. They never did anything about it. The vehicle continued to park over there. At one point, they finally parked on the other side because I'm sure, as you guys know, you're also supposed to alternate every day. If it's an odd day or even day, what side, north, south, whatever, you're supposed to park on. They never do that on our street. They always park on the same side. Over Christmas, again, they parked. Then they blocked the physical path itself, where everybody that wanted to get to the park had to go on everybody's lawn to walk around it. And then the walkway could never get cleared out after the car finally got out and moved, because they'll sit there for a solid week during all that snowstorm. And the snow just piled up so much that nobody could do anything about it. So my question is, what do I do as a citizen to get the cops or the village, whoever, to do something about these people that keep parking over a school crossing? That's causing it to be dangerous for people using the park.
We will run it up to totem pole and get an answer for you.
Thank you.
Certainly. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Sarah Larson, Butternut Road. My concern is about village acquisitions under the name of the 2050 plan when feedback was provided by less than 50 residents. And so when we're talking about the Holy Hill District or other things that have been on the board agenda in closed session, it's all being done under the name of the 2050 plan. And so I just want to caution you as you start receiving requests for changes to zoning. Currently, the board president and Mr. Baum sit in on these meetings about property acquisition in terms of the village center, which is at the southeast corner of Pilgrim and Mequon, Blackstone Creek, the Grosnick property, and the rest of the plan commission is not privy to those conversations. Yet you are going to be asked to make zoning changes, most likely to accommodate the development that they are planning. And I think perhaps there should be some conversation about the Plan Commission in its entirety, along with the Economic Development Commission, setting the path versus being reactionary and just having their plan put before you to say, okay, this is what we're going to do, when it really isn't the will of the residents. So I encourage you to really think about it and ask questions when you are being asked to approve things, because there's background. And I've been doing a lot of open records requests on these closed sessions and the properties that the village is acquiring. We are not developers, clearly, when you witness some of the things going on. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else?
Okay, good evening. Melanie Smythe, N140W17938 Cedar Lane. I have a couple of things tonight. The first one is that Cedarburg apparently this evening is addressing a decibel limit change from 90 to 65 as part of their ordinances. So I just thought you guys might be interested in that, since we've had those conversations relatively recently. Then next comment is about the Crossway meeting tonight and discussion. I thought that was handled very well. So good for you guys. And it's exactly the reason that this is a perfect example of why neighborhood meetings are important and why they should happen, and why projects should be discussed early in their conception so that opportunities can be made to make changes that badly affect surrounding neighborhoods. And so I encourage any of these projects that have been handled in closed door session, behind closed doors, be brought early in their conceptual phases for people to review and look at, because if they don't, you end up potentially having much bigger issues when it feels like it's inevitable. I do feel it's a little disrespectful that those projects haven't been brought to the plan commissioners to review. Comment about the Holy Hill. I think that there should be some consideration about protecting Dinesville from being overrun and taken over by too much industrial. There's a lot of traffic now that goes through that area and down Maple. There are no traffic signs on that stretch of Maple. There are if you go north from Holy Hill on Maple. And the other day I was following a concrete truck, and 18-wheelers frequently go there because they come down off Fond du Lac. I know they have to go on Fond du Lac because it's whichever state, county, whatever. But we can control Maple. The condition of that road isn't going to last very long. I noticed that there was a steering committee as part of the upcoming plan. I was wondering if one of the commissioners could be part of that, besides staff and the usual people. And the last comment I have is about the Clinton Drive project that was put on hold. Small businesses are the lifeblood of this country. and I'm going to take a few extra minutes or seconds, I should say. I do know that at the last village board meeting, Dean Walter asked whether or not the ordinance language change would affect the application, and was told it would not, but it has, because it's going to potentially affect the closing by moving this and not addressing this particular project. The original application went in February, and it was not affected by that language change. And therefore, in other jurisdictions that I have dealt with in my business, if it gets in before a date of a discussion of some ordinance language change, it's grandfathered in under the old one. There shouldn't be a reason for that to continue with or wait for the new language description. So I would encourage you to maybe have a special meeting once this meeting tomorrow occurs, so that you can vote on this to help the Green Hills people get their business up and running. They have a hard closing date that's coming up, and it's taken too long since apparently there was a delay in the time in which the application was addressed. And that's one of the zoning, that's a planning
Are we coming to a
department.
close?
Yes, I've got 2 bullet points left. The planning department could have looked at it sooner. The engineering department could have looked at the situation sooner. I would hate to think that this would turn into another kind of, lawsuit or problem because of delays that were made in this application. Those are my comments.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to come forward?
I'll give this to you after I've got my notes on here.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I'll give this to you after I read the comments. It's my cheat sheet. Thank you. Hi, Jan Miller, W151N 10297 Winsong Circle West. I am commenting based on as a resident, and also when I get to that point of some comments I have from residents as a trustee. As was mentioned by the previous speaker, Melanie Smythe, Green Hill needs consideration and needs what they have presented passed by this board, so that they can be a viable company here. When a project starts in February and takes this long, we need to either change the process, add some other things, or take a look at it sooner. And that's for not just Green Hill, that's for all the projects. And I would welcome seeing our current process for new projects. And I just wanted to make a comment about the Crossway Church. We're so happy that you're growing and expanding. And obviously, we want to make that the most safe environment possible for all. I think that Commissioner Tarantino had a great idea. You've got to we basically need a controlled intersection and a bigger front entrance. I don't think a back door is going to be the solution, because they have to exit out of Clinton and it's going into Pilgrim anyway. But above that, we definitely need perhaps some police presence to help that until we get what we need done as far as a traffic study and to make that a safe situation. Yeah, I've almost got clipped there a couple of times. And then thirdly, I just, well, maybe it's not the third, but my concern with the RFP is the $65,000 that is being discussed was for both different districts, the Holy Hill and the Freistadt. in the beginning, and that was a year ago. Now, maybe prices have gone up, I'm not sure, but you would have to start it all over again. I think that the timeline is too aggressive. And I think this is a horrible time to start it because we're going into budget season. So I think that if we take a look at where the budget lands, then it'll make more sense and go forward. One of the other areas that we should take a look at is the Village Center because that's been talked about a lot. Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to come forward for public comment?
Michael Anderson with Green Hills in regards to the N114W18686 Clinton Drive property. Just kind of a little bit more clarification on a few things. We did start this process back in February 28th, actually, with some in-person, actually reaching out to Lori at the time, inquiring on this. It did take us until early May to get some of the responses. Now on this project, we had previously last year acquired an occupancy permit for another building within the Wellhead Protection District to run the same type of de-icing operation. So going forward, when we had put the offers in on this property, we had requested, to make sure that all of our ducks were going to be in a row to make sure that this was viable before we even put the offers in on this property to start the process. I do have quite a bit of other stuff. I'm just going to kind of summarize it a little bit. Essentially, really what this village needs is a little bit more of a streamlined process for small businesses. It is extremely challenging. I mean, especially with starting this back in February and, now we're going to be September and I've already got extensions on the property, and to go to close at the end of September is going to be extremely tight timeline wise. So that is why we've been pushing a little bit. Some of the rules have changed throughout the process, some of which have helped us. There have been some text amendments to the zoning code, like the conditional use permit allowing horticultural and landscape services to operate within the M1 industrial district. We did not believe we actually needed anything in regard to the wellhead protection initially, as we had already obtained an occupancy permit within the same wellhead protection district that our new properties within. So I guess I would just advise too that we have additional clarifications, for small businesses and really any business or anybody that's, attempting to apply for applications and get their business here into Germantown. The process just has been, a little bit drawn out and difficult. And I do understand, some of the things as far as planning and engineering review, as it was told to me, you guys have other things to do, and I get that and I do understand some of those things. It's just, when we're dealing with such tight timelines, the process does need to at least be, certain things need to be looked at within a timely fashion that we submit. I'm going to use the example of what ended up happening. It was after our meeting on August 14th in conference room A, just to get some additional, with the wellhead protection. We tried for weeks previous to get some answers that we needed from the village on what type of containment. We weren't able to get some of that until that meeting. So we had a very tight timeline to submit everything else. But previous to that, we had our stormwater management plan and whatnot that, wasn't able to be reviewed, that was submitted over a month prior. So if, things like that could be sped up a little bit, because instead of working on the answers, that you're basically the extra paperwork that was needed based on that meeting on August 14th, we had to go back and redesign the stormwater management plan, which we were able to do within 48 hours, get an extra easement over actually receiving the information from the village, which did take a couple of days as well. So I guess I would just, again, recommend a more sped up timeline or some other ways to review things for, businesses trying to relocate within the villages, or just businesses in general.
Okay, we will take that into consideration. Thank you. Anybody else wishing to come forward for public comment? Seeing none, we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is announcements. I have no announcements because I wasn't planning on running this meeting. Therefore, I will go to the next. Anybody else have any announcements? Dean, you have any announcements?
No, I don't have any announcements.
Okay, that takes us to the final item, which is the adjournment, and I will adjourn the meeting at 8:25. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for your presentations. What?